DrTPS sir, just opening remarks to our today's topic. DrTPS sir.
Namaskaram. I thought I will listen others and then start reflecting. Yeah, maybe to put one sentence, I keep saying high expectation teaching is by which if my learners around me become a better learner and they keep saying, I don't require you anymore. I know how to learn myself. So if any of my student is able to tell like that, my students keep saying, yeah, you taught me how to learn. Because any subject, anything what is being taught by teachers, the idea is to make my students not just to learn the topic, but to learn how to learn everything around the globe, how to learn from different experiences. So if I am a high profile teacher where my expectation from my learners always is, they must tell that I don't require you anymore. So I keep saying, at the end of most of my lectures, I keep saying my prayer is, let me of no use to you from tomorrow. Let me of no use to you from tomorrow. I don't require you because I know how to learn now. And that is how every teacher has to be. So, who is a better teacher? The student can manage themselves. I am able to make my students to focus because I taught them, or maybe I have guided them, I have directed them, I have given sufficient expertise in them to look at things very carefully. Exploitation becomes, research becomes their activity. They must be able to reflect on anything what they see. Second, I must make my people learner who are around me. Learners are important, not teachers. So when I say this is the subject of discussion today, they must be able to contribute. That means they must have good communication skill. So a high expectation teaching is, I make my learners to speak, learners to ask questions. They raise their quest for knowledge. Quest for knowledge becomes questions in the classroom. So if after talking some time, today also I just finished a class on the action research for the Philippines, lead Philippines group. So I keep expecting them to ask questions, but hardly we see people ask questions. So if nobody is asking questions, that means you have not put them into that path of asking questions. You can ask questions only when you think. So a high expectation teacher or that teaching methodology is where I make my people who are listening to think and make a change, proactive discussions. My objective and scope has to be very clear. I say this is what I want. So today when I present this, my expectation is, it is not high expectation teaching, high profile teaching. At the end it is learning. It's high profile learning actually. So high profile learning, how does it happen? I must give beyond the age. I keep telling them, if a 13 age learner comes to me, I keep saying your level from 13 should come to 20 at the end of 10 minutes of discussion with me. My goal is to keep you raised from the level where you are. Think beyond your age. My role is to facilitate them to think beyond their age. Ask questions which are high profile. And then that becomes a motivation for them. The effort will become much higher. The goal becomes much higher. The thought process becomes higher. The great Swamiji from Vivekananda, Indian Swami, he says, The way you think is what you are. If you think low, you are a low person. If you think high, you are a high person. So your profile is the way you think. So what is my job? My job is to make my learner to think high. All small problems are solved very silly, easy. So don't discuss too low. Make children to think about bigger and bigger. And every student must be able to discuss high profile. I keep going to different institutions. I keep saying, how do you know this school, this academic institution, this college is good? I keep saying, in the veranda, in the corridor, not in the classroom. In the corridor, if students are discussing about high great things in this world, that means that institution is good. So that means you must be able to make students to discuss each other. The peer groups discussion should be the highest profile. Great advantage of the knowledge which is available in fingertips in many places. If I talk for few minutes and then my children wanted to do research on that for one day and come back and ask questions, then I have done my job. If I am able to make my children to discuss each other, I have done my job. That is what is essential. How do I make it? Only not a teacher who learns something from a textbook and mug up and then teach the same thing. They cannot do that. An experienced, practical oriented. They are called acharyas in India. The acharya is one who practices what he preaches. Yadyada jaradisrashta tatta deveterochana sayat pramanam gurude lokastha naruvartade. Seeing him, somebody should feel that, oh, I want to become like him. I want to follow him. He is a great man. And as a teacher, if I am able to make that feeling in front of few students who are all learners, not necessarily students. Yesterday we had a debate, brainstorming. So after that, so many questions started coming. So if I am able to make them to ask questions, I went to an open school which is a center for learning where a lot of children are there from grade 4 to grade 9. Presence was good enough. They felt like asking a lot of questions. If that can be done, Acharyat Padamadate, 1/4 you give information. Padam, another 1/4 the student will learn themselves. And another 1/4 students will start discussing each other. Padamsa Brahmacharibhya. Students learn by discussing each other. If I can create discussions, my teaching is high profile. If I don't make my students to discuss each other, that class is waste. I keep saying, when people go to a cinema theater for seeing a movie, soon after the movie, you will see the audience keep discussing about the movie which has happened. Just to see in the movie, oh, that scene was good, that dialogue was good, that costume was good. After your session, after your class, after your discussion, after you being with them, do your students have such a discussion around what happened between you and the children? If that discussion happens, you are a high profile teacher. And that is what is to be done. Then, Acharyat Padamadate, Padam Shishya Somedaya, Padam Sa Brahmacharibhya, Padam Kalakramenacha. The rest of the things they will learn by themselves after some time. So make your students to work more with a lot of enthusiasm and interest. That is what should happen. I can go on and on, but I think this is not the time for that. Good enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. TPS sir, for insightful discussion. And
Mamtas.
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, yes, sir.
There are small probably errors and corrections. Probably I wish Sagarika do it. It is not making your student what you want. That is one statement which was happening for a long time. And that is how probably the teachers training programs happen. And that is one of the pitiest thing in education. We have to redefine. Every parent, every teacher, every student should have that aim. But that should not reflect in any of your dealings. As an educator, as a mentor, what they have potentially inside is to be groomed so that they come up by themselves. So actually, it is not a teacher grading a student. Actually, it is students should grade the teachers. It should happen the other way. If after I speak, um, they have to take notes, not by demand. They have to make a note by demand. The way you present, people feel, oh, there is something great. That's what I keep saying, you have to be an acharya. So that students feel, I also want to be like him. We have humanities subject in which we introduce lot of personalities who are good and great in history. We speak about Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln. The great personalities in the world are introduced in your social studies classrooms, English classrooms, so that students feel, oh, I want to be like him. You are introducing a athlete in your classroom. Everybody knows different names in different fields. How do we know? When we learn about them, the student feels, oh, I want to be an athlete. Somebody else feels, I want to be a scientist. I don't know, you missed what Miss Aditi was mentioning about her expectation and how it became a tragedy. No? This is what happens to most of the teachers. I have been talking to millions of teachers and students. I'll tell you.
Let me just interrupt. I'm sorry to just interrupt. The thing is, most of you all don't know the background that I come from. I deal with grassroots children who are first generation learners, who have absolutely no background in learning and who have no motivation to learn either. They are drug addicts.
Sagariga.
They are absolute drug addicts.
Sagariga.
They are so unless I don't have a goal for them, they will never have a goal for themselves. So I stand corrected over here. No. That is, I as an educator need to show them the path, because they don't want to walk any path. They don't want to walk any path. So
Sagariga, I request you to visit the village where I am coming from. You only deal with the grassroots people. I come from such a village where electricity came when I was doing my masters. Telephone came when I was doing my PhD. Even today, if I stay in my village, I have no telephone connection. You only dealt with them. I am from such a place. But I am a scientist who worked with the Prime Minister's office. Expectation doesn't come from your background. It comes from how many of you are exposed. There is a syllabus. You are supposed to expose to them, not to bring them. We don't debate. I said, I request you to correct in case.
It is different strokes for different folks. It is different strokes for different folks. For you, it may be that way. For me, it is not that way. In the way I'm dealing with the children.
You have. See, I did not interrupt you. If you want me to stop, I can stop now. If you want to continue, I can continue.
You need to give the freedom to others and express themselves.
I am asking Mamta, should I have to continue or stop?
Sir, can I, as a pedagogist, as a teacher?
See, I started something. Let me continue and finish, or should I quit?
Yes, sir. No, sir, finish your.
So the ability of we are talking about a high-profile teacher who is supposed to make their students to ask questions. That can be happen in any level. After I retired from PM's office, directly I went to a village where most of the parents and students teachers have no expectations at all. But in 3 months, what I did was I made them to ask questions. So I keep saying there are 5 wives and 1 husband. If you want to be a good learner, where wife is W, 5 W's and 1 H. Where, when, what, why, keep on asking. How, keep on asking this question. If you can make it, I am sure your students will become good. Second, I take cue from what Patricia was telling. You have to make your students physically good. That means good life patterns, good practices, and that is much easier in a city than in a village. Village students are more pure. The first thing what I do it when I go to classrooms, I keep asking how many of you did not had breakfast. In a village, because they are poor, they did not eat. In a city like Delhi, I must have gone to the most best schools in Delhi and Noida. 2 years I was in Delhi. Almost every day I go to one school in the morning and then attend assembly. I keep asking how many of you did not had breakfast. Many of them did not. Not because they are poor, because their parents have no time to prepare breakfast. So the rich and the poor have same problems. They don't care. Poor don't care the children. Rich also don't care the children. Right? Fivefold development. Physical. Patricia mentioned very clearly emotional. If physical and emotional is done, intellectual is very simple. Because physical and emotional is not done, intellect doesn't work. When somebody is in real hungry, you cannot talk them about Tolstoy and you cannot talk them about geometry and mathematics. When emotionally they are upset, they cannot learn. So you need to talk to them on intelligence. Subject studies. Most important, the next step is social. You must be concerned about the whole society around you. Either the poor or rich. It doesn't take much time. It is only the way you carry them. Don't take it as a big burden, hard work and all that. It's a passion. Give me the worst children. I will show them in 3-4 months how do they perform. I have done it. Look at my YouTube and look at Icon program. I have picked up young, everybody says certifies useless. I made them useful. Nobody is useless. They are useless. Nobody is useless. They are useless. We can make them useful. Right? So fivefold development. Physical, emotional, intellectual, social and spiritual. If this can be put together, I am sure you can be the best performed teachers. That's all what I want to add.